Good evening, and thanks for joining me. If you're all listening out there, this is the second part of my journey, carrying on from last week. I got to the end last week where I came back from Nottingham looking after my mum. Came back to Nottingham, living in Nottingham, and I've got a few more stories to tell you, so I hope you'll enjoy it, and thanks ever so much for listening. I came back to Nottingham, where all the Muslims were. I was, thanks to Allah for that, because I was in a town where there wasn't any. And I did start to take some classes, and I took one. I used to go to classes, all different classes, and then I did a scholarship on the life of Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is really inspirational for me, and I really, really thoroughly enjoyed it. As a revert, it's very difficult for me, and the age I am as well. Obviously, I am 50 years old, and I can't have any more children. So half of Islam is, half of the Islamic faith is to be married. So this is one of the struggles as a revert that I'm finding is very, very hard. I've been on a lot of marriage sites, 4 or 5 of them. I've been to 5 marriage events, London, Manchester, and I don't seem to find anybody. I did go on the internet when I moved down to Somerset. My mum bought me a laptop. I was a revert for about 9 months. I went on to a marriage site, and I met a possible man on there for a marriage. Been talking to him for about 3 or 4 months. Seemed, a genuine guy. He was disabled. He was in a wheelchair, but I thought Allah's brought me this man to care for. Talked to him for 3 or 4 months, and he offered to come down and see me, and I said, well, no, you can't, because I've got steps up to my flat, so he wouldn't have been able to make it up there in the wheelchair. So I offered to go up and see him in London. On this particular morning, it was Fajr time, and he said, I'm going to go into Fajr prayer now, and I'm going to do a prayer, and the prayer will make you my mahram. I really didn't know what this meant, but obviously all this time I was talking to him, he said, I'm going to marry you. I'm going to take care of you for Allah. I'm going to love you for Allah. I'm going to be on this journey with you for Allah. So obviously this man is genuine. So he did this prayer, and then he came back to me and he said, I've done the prayer, and now you're my mahram. When you come to London, we will do the prayer together, and then we will decide how long we want it for. So I said, okay, obviously this man knows what he's talking about, swearing to Allah he's going to take care of me. So I went to London, met him, and I thought, not really, this is not for me. And we went back to his flat, sat there, and I was waiting for us to do the prayer together, and no prayer came. And Astaghfirullah, just got out of my hand and took me into the bedroom. And I'm thinking, this is not good. I said to him, can you take me back to the coach station now? And before we left, he'd put something in my handbag. And I said to him, what is this in my handbag? Because before I'd gone to London, he said, there's 3 things you have to do for the woman. You have to give her a gift. You have to do this prayer. And there was one other thing, which I can't remember. So, I believed all this. This is a man that's swearing to Allah that he's going to take care of me. And he said, no, don't look in the bag. It's your coach fare. And I said, I don't need my coach fare. So he said, no, don't look in it, don't look in it. So I got to this coach station, looked in my bag, and there was £100 in there. And I got back to Somerset, and I tried to email this person saying, I don't know what's happened. I don't know what the money is. I don't know, where was the prayer? And this person just wouldn't answer me for 3 or 4 days. And I was absolutely heartbroken. It's £100 in my bag. I just felt absolutely awful. And then after the 4th day, he did email me back, and he said, hello, don't ask me any questions. I don't know what happened, but it just happened, and that's it, bye. And I was absolutely devastated. I didn't know what was happening. I came into Islam thinking everything was pure. You choose a man for your husband, and then you get married, and that's for life. This was just absolutely devastating to me. My family were absolutely astounded. My mum especially, because she'd been seeing every time we talked. She saw him. It was just absolutely devastating. So that was one of the occurrences I had looking for a husband. The second one was that I was doing a class, and I had sinned, and I was going downhill. I was coming out of the faith. I just couldn't do everything that was required of me from Allah. I just felt that I was disrespecting him. I'd sinned. My nail extensions went back on. My hijab came off, and I was going to class. And this certain person said to me, "Are you okay after class?" And I said, "No, I'm not." And he said, "Are you okay for money?" Which I wasn't, because I was in debt and I didn't have any bus fare to get to work. And he asked me, "What else is it?" And I said, I want a husband. I want to get married, and I want to, be with that person for the rest of my life. That would be the other half of my faith. So this person said, "Right, what I'll do is I'll get some forms out for marriage proposals, put them out, and we'll see what we get back. And in a week's time, if we don't get any answer, then if we can't get anybody externally, I will do it internally. Do you know what I'm saying?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Are you sure you know what I'm saying?" And I said, "Yeah." I knew what he was saying, and I was glad. This was an inspiration to me. So this went on for 2 weeks, getting things sorted out, because I was going to be a second wife. And then all out of the blue, I had a phone call to say, "This is so-and-so. I won't be able to do this, as me and my wife sat down and talked, and we cannot do it. We cannot find the provisions to do this." And down the phone went. So I thought, okay, and do I still go to class? So 3 days went by, and I had a phone call, and he phoned and said, "We've got a class on Sunday. Would you like to come to Jummah prayer?" So I went to Jummah prayer, but I couldn't sit there. I just burst into tears and ran out. And then I thought, this is a whole year's scholarship that I'm going to, throw down the drain. I just got to go into class. So I started going back into class. And then 2 weeks later, still phoning me, and I was still really upset and crying. And then I came out of class and had a phone call to say, "Are you home? I've got some papers to bring you." And then a knock at the door, and the person said that I've prayed over this again, and I can spend time with you. And I said, "What do you mean you can marry me again?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, "Please don't break my heart again." And he said, "The only way I will not marry you is if I die." So I was the most ecstatic woman in this world. I was so excited to just love this person. And so everything was being put into place at home. So I thought, because there was children involved with the other wife, and I was just ecstatic. All the plans were being made. We're going to get married in Leicester. The first 2 weeks were going to be spent with me. Things were just being put into place. I was being warned that I would be talked about in the streets and looked at, because obviously his family weren't here but hers, and I was prepared for that. Did I want any more children? Obviously these were being questions that were being asked at home, and I said, I can't have any more children. So all these things were being put into place. So this was, to me, 110% this was going to go ahead. 4 weeks went by. Tried to phone him on the weekend. He was a bit offish, so I thought, let him be. He's got a lot on his plate at home. And then I went to work on the Monday. I was making my plans. It was going ahead. Monday morning, I went to go into the back gate of my work at 7:45 in the morning. I had a few missed calls, phoned him, and just said, "This is blah, blah, blah. I don't know whether the class is going to happen on Friday this week. I'm going to email all my students because my wife's just tried to commit suicide." And the phone went down. So that was it. Absolutely devastated. Nothing else. Ran up to my friends. Just absolutely heartbroken. 3 days went by, and got hold of him, and I said, "What's happening? Is it over?" And he said, "Well, got this all on my plate now, and we can't leave any laces untied." I had to go to the doctors. I couldn't go to work. I was sick. I was having a nervous breakdown, and my friend got hold of him and said, "You need to talk to her." So I went up to talk to him with her in the room, and I didn't know what to say, and he didn't know what to say, and I just said, "Oh, is this over?" And he just said, "Well, this has happened." I said, "You promised me that the only way you wouldn't marry me is if you died." And he said, "Yeah, but I didn't perceive this was going to happen now. I've got to look after my wife and kids. And is there anybody in an emergency for you that can help you?" So that was it. I was left. I knew Allah says, He doesn't put things on your shoulders that you can't bear, but that was one of the things that I thought I couldn't bear. That was absolutely devastating to me, and my heart was broken. It's still very hard for me today because I see this person, and I forgive him, and I don't blame him at all. Tried to do something that he really wanted, but it just wasn't to be. So I had to pick myself up, go on. I've been on marriage sites. I've had other experiences as well. It's just so difficult. Not just for a revert. I'm not saying it because I'm a revert. It happens all around the world. But me being a revert, I thought this was my break after the life I had before, messing around, you know, with guys, having them treat me awful. This was going to be, Allah's chosen me and this is pure and nobody's going to mess me around. But Allah's obviously shown me different things in life. I can't trust, you know, I can't trust everybody, whether they be Muslim, whether they be any faith. You just have to keep your guard, and you just have to respect yourself, and you just have to be strong. And this is the steps that I'm taking now. The last 2 years I've been really, really strong. I know what Allah wants now. I know He wants me to respect myself, and no one's going to walk over me no more. No one's going to abuse me, and I don't care whether I have to be on my own for the rest of my life. That's the way I'm going to stay. I will die single. Allah knows best, and He knows what's best for me, and He's put these things into place so that I learn a lesson. I've had lots of dreams and visions. When I do the istikhara, he tells me really, really strong. I was seeing a guy before I was a revert in Turkey. My best friend had died of a heart attack. She was 45, and I was out with her that night in the pub drinking with her. And that was on the Wednesday night, and she'd got into a lot of debt behind her husband's back, and she was really, really worried about it that night. And I said, I'll tell him. And she said, no, I can't. You can't tell him. I did it to him 7 years ago, and he wasn't impressed. She was a millionaire. But she said, I can't hurt him. And on the Thursday evening, I had a phone call from him, and he said she had died of a heart attack. And I'd had lost my licence drinking and driving. I was on community service, and I'd met my supervisor was a woman. She said, you really need to go on holiday. We'll go to Turkey. She'd been going there for 13 years. I said, well, I don't really fancy Turkey. Anyway, I went, and there again, I fell madly in love with this guy in Turkey, Muslim guy. I was infatuated by this guy, told me everything I wanted to hear. Went over there 9 times in 2 years. I spent thousands and thousands of pounds. I paid for the flights, the apartments, all the drinks, all this food. And then the marriage was going to go ahead. I had to get all my divorce papers through, which I paid for over here. And then the marriage was going ahead. I went over with my sister. She came over with me. We got to Tamworth train station, and she said, have you got your dress? And I said, yeah, I nearly forgot it, but I've got my dress. She had all her outfit. I'd bought all his suit, all his everything. And got to Tamworth train station, and I sat there and I said to my sister, do you know what I've forgotten? She said, no. I said, I forgot my divorce papers. She went, you are joking. You're going over there to get married and you haven't got your papers. And I said, I haven't. And I just didn't know what to do. There was no way. It was 12 o'clock at night. I couldn't get my papers. So I got on the plane, got over there, and I told him, and he was absolutely livid. So I asked my manager, my friend at work had got my keys to my flat. So I asked her to go into my flat, get the paperwork, asked my manager to courier over to Turkey. So that took 3 days, and it was Eid at that time. So quite a lot of things were shut, so I couldn't get to the registrar. So my time had run out. I was absolutely hysterically crying because I couldn't do it. But this was a sign, as I know now, that this was not going to go ahead. This man, obviously, I didn't know who he was. I didn't know whether he had wives, whether he had children. I was really, really, really upset. Came back to England, and I said, right, I'm going to go. I'll go in 6 months' time. And in that time, I'd lost my job at this call centre. And in the May, the out-of-body experience and everything happened to me. And I was still going to go over there and marry him. But for 18 months, I couldn't get a job. And I've never in my lifetime not found a job. Within 2-3 months, I've got a job. And 18 months, I could not find a job. I've been for about 30 interviews, and no one was taking me on. And I thought, this is not normal. And for 18 months, I couldn't get a job. I couldn't get any money to go over there. And in that time, obviously, I'd gotten over him a bit. I'd got to the stage with that relationship where I was spending my rent money. I'd got £1,000 in debt on my rent. I'd got £1,200 in debt on my council tax because I was spending all my money on flights and apartments and his food and his drinks and gold chains and giving him £150 at the airport because said he didn't have any rent money. That was my gas money, and I came back and lived in the cold. And I was in serious debt through this guy. I was scrabbling for pennies down the backs of my settee. I had a letter of eviction from my flat. And by this time I was on benefits because I'd lost my job, and the housing officer said, I will go to court for you and we can just offer to pay £3 a week, which I did. And I had £500 in a landline bill where I'd got my landline, that would cut off. I was really, really hanging on by a thread. Then this took me, and then I was 18 months without a job, so I couldn't go over there because I couldn't get the money. Then things happened, like my washing machine went wrong. I've got a dog. This was presented, I've never had a dog in my life, but he was presented to me down in Somerset, and things went wrong with him. I had a £300 vet bill. So this money I was trying to save to get over there, it just wasn't coming, and it wasn't going to come. And this time I sort of got over him a bit. And then I went on to Facebook, I think it was, and I saw messages on there that he'd messaged one of his exes to say, when are you coming? When are you coming? My mum wants to marry you, wants me to marry you. My daughter said, have you seen that? And I said, yeah. So this was a sign as well in black and white to tell me, you know, you're not going back over there again. And when I was in Somerset, I'd gone with this guy and I was going back to marry him. And the sister said to me, do the istikara to see if to see if Allah's given you the decision to go back and marry him a second time. I did the istikara, and I really didn't believe in this prayer because I didn't believe that I could get a decision. I did the istikara for a decision from Allah whether I should go back and marry this man the second time. And the first night I went to sleep, I had a dream. I found him in bed with my sister. The second night I went to sleep, and he was in Nottingham. I was at a car boot sale, and I turned around and he was behind me. And I looked at him and I said, I went to kiss him and he said, no, we're not doing that anymore. And I said, you know, you're going to finish with me, aren't you? And he said, yes. And he said, I need to talk to you. So we went behind where an ice cream van was and some pine tables. And he sat there, and I said, how did you get into England? Because he can't get into England only if marries a white woman for a visa. And he said, oh, there's something wrong with security, and I managed to get through. And I said, you're going to finish with me, aren't you? And he said, yes. And I said, you've got another woman in England, haven't you? And he said, yes. So that was the istikara. That was 2 nights. One, I found him in bed with my sister. And the second night, I found him in England, and he had a woman in England. So that's the istikara that I did. I did do the istikara as well for this person that I was going to be a second wife to. And the first dream I had, the first time I was going to do it, and a dream that I was getting married. I had a second-hand dress. There was no ring, and nobody was interested in the wedding. In the reception in the evening, I had loads to drink, and I murdered somebody, and they were after me for murder. And I did get caught for this murder, and I was about to be hung, and I had a priest stood by the door, and I said, you know, I'm a Muslim, and I have to say la ilaha illallah Muhammadan Rasulullah. And I kept saying that, and I kept saying that. And he said, yeah, I know you have to. And I was giving my daughter all the warnings of folders at home where things are for Islam. And that was the first part of that. We're going to take a short break now. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you shortly. Thank you very much.